Next time I'd like to see it, but we do like it. How about you?
All right, it is 12 o'clock, just a little bit after, actually. We will call this meeting to order. Thank you all for being here today. Beautiful sunshiny day in West Kentucky. With that, Mr. Terry Stringer from Livingston County is going to open us with the pledge. And then after that, Judge Curtis McGee from Muhlenberg County will have our invocation. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, today we pause to thank you for all the blessings you've given us. We realize that every good you have come to you. I ask you to bless our meeting today. I thank you for the opportunity we have to gather together and organize our thoughts and minds to better serve our communities. I pray that you bless West Kentucky. I pray that you bless the Pennyrile Area Development District. I thank you for Jason, who leads us, leadership that he offers, wisdom that he sheds upon work that we do. We just give thanks for that. Not only him, but his entire team, they do such a remarkable job. We are thankful for them, and we ask you to bless them as they go from day to day. Bless us all. Watch over us, keep us safe and healthy in your will. Yet we ask these things in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you both. And I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this before we started, but if you would just pause with me for a moment of silence for those folks in East Kentucky and the devastation that they're going through, and for the ones that have lost loved ones over there. So let's just pause for 1 second here. Thank you all. All right, first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. You have a copy of those minutes in front of you from the July 11th board meeting. Give everybody a few minutes to look over those if you haven't had a chance to do so. Got a motion to approve, second by Judge Gruber. Any questions or comments? All in favor saying aye. Aye. Opposed by like sign? Hear none, motion carries. Approval of the financial report, Miss Alicia Sutton.
Everyone should have a copy of the financial report in their packet. For the revenue side, we have brought in $150,126, which is 1% of the budget. For the first month, it kind of takes us a while to get started and get everything flowing. So that's why that number is so low. On the expenditure side, we have expended $646,219.10, which is 3.21% of the budget. We should be at 8.33% to be in line with the budget. So all line items are under that percentage. If there are any questions, I'll be glad to address those. Not, Mr. Chairman, I'll need a motion.
No questions of Ms. Sutton. Thank you, Ms. Sutton. Need a motion to approve. So moved here. Second, have a motion and a second. All in favor saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Hear none, motion carries. At this time, we'll hear reports from our federal and state representatives. Ms. Morgan Alvey is not here. Mr. Jason Hazard is not here. With that, we'll call on Mr. Austin Weatherington from Congressman Comer's office. Austin.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for allowing our office to be here today. It's always a pleasure to speak in front of the community's movers and shakers. For most of you that don't know me, my name is Austin Weatherington. I am replacing Marty Wiles, who retired in December. I'm trying to lighten Corey Elder's load as he has a lot of communities and people he serves as well. So I just wanted to mention that Congressman Comer was in Christian County last week, and we did have a safety meeting with officials, and we appreciate Amy from PAD for being there. Congressman Comer continues to oppose unprecedented spending by congressional Democrats, unchecked spending by Congress, and the Biden administration's careless economic policies have ignited a recession and record high inflation. Congressman Comer recently spoke on the House floor and expressed his serious concerns over inflation and its impact on Kentuckians. He highlighted the dramatic rise in the price of everyday goods and noted the difficulties local farmers are now encountering when attempting to keep equipment operating. As the Republican leader on the House Committee on Oversight and Reform, Congressman Comer remains committed to holding the Biden administration accountable to the American people. Instead of using the committee's power to vilify private businesses, Congressman Comer is determined to return the committee to its intended mission of rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. Congressman Comer knows that Land Between the Lakes is one of Kentucky's crown jewels, an extraordinary legacy to be taken care of and shared with generations to come. Congressman Comer and Senator McConnell's legislation, the Land Between the Lakes Recreation and Heritage Act, will improve funding and maintenance for the long list of issues facing LBL. Judge White has played a significant part in this, and Congressman Comer will continue to work with local stakeholders, former residents, and Senator Mitch McConnell to advance this important legislation and preserve this treasured area. Congressman Comer recently defended the United States agriculture industry in an environmental subcommittee hearing. He is firmly against burdensome regulations which threatens farmers' ability to keep food on America's tables. As the former Kentucky Agricultural Commissioner, he noted the importance of promoting the use of new farming technology and supporting an industry which employs so many Kentuckians. He concluded by stressing intervention and red tape, especially when farmers are still struggling with high gasoline prices and historic inflation. Congressman Comer recently spearheaded legislation for the Access for Veterans to Records Act, which allows veterans to access critical benefits in a more efficient, timely manner. The House passed this bill with overwhelming support, and the Access for Veterans to Records Act will help provide veteran households service-related benefits, including medical treatment, unemployment assistance, and emergency housing such services. Thank you so much for having the time to speak today. I appreciate it, and I look forward to working with every one of you.
Thank you, Austin. State Representative Walker Thomas.
Looks like I'm the only state rep here today, but want to thank y'all for being here and let me just say a few words and want to congratulate this group here for our announcement last week or so and coming to town. Now it's chips are on our shoulder. We'll work on trying to figure out, get some roads in there and stuff. So we'll do that. Real quick, we're still kind of in the middle of our interim, which means we're not in session right now. So we're studying certain issues. In VMAP, we've been studying the issues of Lincoln military as maybe becoming some of these school resource officers and trying to do that. For the August meeting, we have planned, and while I'm thinking of it, keep CB Embry in y'all's prayers. I know he's been active and stuff too. So he's still tough, and I'm picking up some of the things that he can't do. But in VMAP, we're getting ready to go tour Boone National Guard Armory and stuff up in Frankfurt at our next meeting, and we'll hear from the Adjutant General. He's going to report on some of the issues that are going on over in Eastern Kentucky. My wife and I are going to head to Eastern Kentucky this weekend and see what we can do to help out, because I think y'all are hearing the rumors there could be a special session called and mainly for that task. So that's what's going on up in Frankfurt right now. A lot of committees are meeting, conferences are pretty well done, and we're all back and ready to do business in January. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Representative Thomas. At this time, we have Alex Cottle from the Governor's Office of Local Development. Alex.
Thank you, Judge. Good to be with you all today. The Governor was just in the Pennyrile region last week, visiting Marion and of course Hopkinsville for a big announcement. So again, kudos to you all for all your hard work on that. The governor will be back in the region next Wednesday as well, August 17th at 11 a.m. in Muhlenberg County for the groundbreaking on the airport there. So looking forward to that event. An important update for our tornado impacted communities. You should have received via email an important survey to take for the CDBG disaster recovery funds. If you have not taken that survey, highly encourage you all to do so. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me. It's also posted on our DLG website, again, for our local officials to take and for any community members to take from those tornado impacted communities as well. And then next week, we're very excited, August 17th through the 19th, to be back in Louisville for the Governor's Local Issues Conference. Look forward to seeing you all then. You still have time to register if you haven't already. And if anyone wants to have a meeting with our Commissioner Dennis Keene while you're there, feel free to reach out to myself or Martha Jane King, and we'd be happy to get that scheduled for you. So thank you very much, Judge.
I'll just reiterate that survey, Alex, because I know we work very closely on the CDBG side of things. And for you all that was impacted, please complete that, because that's really going to help structure how the governor's office determines how that money is going to be spent. So they need to know what your true needs are. And so complete that as soon as you can.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate that. Trigg County's very own Mr. Doug Taylor with Department of Transportation. Doug?
I'll be
Yeah.
brief and
Okay.
my wife and my kids say I'm loud enough out of my truck. So from the Department of Railroad, all local governments should have that participation cooperative program should have received their make whole 22 fiscal year payments by now. Your first round of fiscal year 23 monies should have already been received. If you have made an application for counties, if you have made application for flex funds, those are being processed and your agreements are being returned to you. Those are all general statements again for the rural roads municipal aid. I'll be available after today's meeting. If you have anything specific for your community and transportation needs, I'll be happy to talk to you at that time. Thanks.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate the update. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say I see Judge Tribble come in just a little bit late. Judge, thank you for being here. I know you did. It says you might ask if I missed anyone, so I missed you when I started. So I'm saying thank you for being here. All right. At this time, we have a report from Workforce Development, Ms. Sheila Clark.
I'm probably gonna blow you away with that, but I couldn't see you with it up. I just wanted to say a special thank you from Workforce to the judges and fiscal courts for their help in trying to get all the consortium paperwork signed and get that in. And we have, I think, one in the purchase counties that will occur this week, and all the Pennyrile counties and their paperwork are accounted for. So thank you all very much for that help. I wanted to mention that we do have some upcoming job fair events. Of course, with our work in the 17 counties, we have announcements for Paducah in that area as well. And we do have a job event coming up there on August the 23rd at the Convention Center. Partners with City, County Economic Development and the Career Center there. We're going to have a career resource area. So if someone didn't bring their resume, we can fix a resume for them. Or if someone talked to a company and they want to come and fill out an application and us assist them, we can do that right there on site online. And we're looking at a job fair for Christian County on September the 15th at the Bruce Convention Center. And our partners with Economic Development and WKDZ Radio Group are all of our partners in that. And we'll have the same career resource events there for people to help with resumes and get those applications completed. And we've had good success over the years with those events, and we hope to continue to have that. I know that Molly Deal is working with Muhlenberg County on a date there for their next job fair. And then we'll be doing something to assist the tornado victims with their job fair activities a little later this fall. So we'll be in touch with those counties. We do have the Southeastern Employment and Training Association event coming up in Louisville. It's a training event for workforce boards and staff in the 8 Southeastern counties. And it rotates to Kentucky about once every 4 or 5 years. And so this is an opportunity for us to get close to those events without having a great deal of travel. So we're trying to take advantage of that. And you all, as local officials, if you're interested in something like that, please let us know and we'll help you. The only thing that I did want to point out is with all the job fair events, we have ongoing events at Fort Campbell every week. And sometimes we forget that. So in that transitioning effort, Derek, if you want to come on up this way, Derek Poor is our transition liaison at Fort Campbell, and he just wanted to remind you of some of those events. Derek?
Thank you, Sheila. Good morning, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity to share some of the events we've had going on at Fort Campbell recently. As most of you know, 400 to 500 service members navigate the transition center every month, with 20 to 30% of them staying in the local area, right? So opportunity to capitalize on that, capture as many of those young folks coming out as we can. The first termers is what we like to look for. Recent combined job fair events, including Spouse Employment Center, the Transition Center, and the Career Skills Program, provided a great opportunity for local employers to connect with military spouses, in addition to the transitioning service members they see all the time. It gives the employers opportunities to capitalize on those technical skills and training that a lot of our military spouses already possess when they come here. I know that recruiters from the local school systems have been very pleased with the results that they've found in attending the events. I know Christian County specifically, Ms. Beverly Fort has told me she's had a lot of luck in connecting with some of the spouses that she's encountered. Recent tours in Hopkinsville have allowed a number of those transitioning service members to connect with local companies through the Military to Manufacturing Career Skills Program. I'd like to thank Carter Hendricks and Southwestern Kentucky Economic Development Council for coordinating some of those efforts and participating as well with some of our local community tours. So again, handing off resumes directly to HR or the company leadership, having that opportunity to have a dialogue and exchange information about this is what I'm interested in. I think that your company would be a great place for me to bring my skills into your organization and continue with my success. Let's see. We've also had 2 soldiers connect with the Hopkinsville Fire Department through the Career Skills Program and DoD Skill Bridge internship opportunity, which is pretty amazing. We've had 1 complete the effort and the other one is ongoing right now. Coming up in the future, we do have a 2-day quarterly job fair event, October 18th and 19th at Fort Campbell. It fills up quick. So if you would like to be involved, be it you as one of your businesses, or if you just want to share with your communities, please have them reach out to me as soon as possible so we can get you in touch with the coordinator and facilitator for that event. Additionally, at the TAP Center Transition Assistance Program office, every Wednesday and Thursday, we have smaller employee day events. Those start generally around 9 o'clock, 9:30 and end at 2 o'clock. So if you would like to attend, if you would like to send information to me so I can share it with those service members I encounter, I'd be happy to do so. Moving forward, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer anything that I can. Thank you.
Thank you all. Next on the agenda is new business, monthly code of ethics report, and there's nothing to report is what I understand. And at this time, we have a guest speaker with us today, Secretary Jeff Noel, Cabinet for Economic Development. We are honored to have Secretary Jeff Noel with us today. You will find Secretary Noel's full bio on the tables in front of you. However, I'll share just a few things about him. Mr. Noel was appointed Secretary of the Kentucky Cabinet of Economic Development in June of 2022. He is responsible for the development and administration of executive policies designed to support and promote the attraction of new jobs and investment in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, maintenance of existing industries, and overall support of economic growth for the state. His accomplishments and accolades are many, and you all can read them, and I'm sure you'd rather do that than hear me stand up here and read them off a piece of paper. Mr. Noel, welcome to the podium.
I'm the guest. I don't remember the speaker part. Did I sign some sort of an agreement to be speaking today? Actually, I am just here to listen, and I'm here to kind of get to know everybody. And I'm a little groggy because unfortunately I had to drive from Michigan, and I'm going to give you a little reason why, and then I'm going to get into some of the things I've done and then talk a little bit about where we're going from an economic development perspective. But, I grew up in Frankfort, Kentucky, was in the tobacco business, grew up on a tobacco farm. I like to tell everybody that I got sent to the tobacco patch when I was about 7, and down the field that we had was right across the fence from a bourbon distillery. I got all the good elements of the vices in Kentucky. I happened to marry a good, beautiful woman who was living in Bowling Green at the time. So I can't think of anything I missed in terms of the good parts about Kentucky. Other than after I was in the tobacco business, I went to work for U.S. Senator Wendell Ford. I worked in Washington, D.C. for several years, came back and was a state executive director for constituent services, which is one of the reasons I'm here, because I think at the end of the day, if we're not helping our fellow neighbors, we're not doing our job. And that really, truly always stuck with me in terms of how the senator tried to say, these are the things you need to do in the world of public service. Went back into the tobacco business. We had made an agreement and we had rewritten the tobacco price support program, both for dark and actually for burley tobaccos, that we would help the industry break down barriers that were not allowed to be sold. Their products weren't allowed to be sold throughout many parts of the world. And so I spent a couple of years in the Far East, making sure that our products could be sold in those parts of the world. And then a fellow who had become governor, who I'd met on the campaign trail for the senator, became governor. And he said, why don't you come down and become Commissioner of Management and Operations and Commissioner of Financial Incentives at the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development. That was about 150 years ago, but that was Wallace Wilkinson. And I said no. I think I said no 3 or 4 times. But nonetheless, he said, well, you can also do, because he knew I was in the real estate business, and I was actually involved in the tobacco warehouse at the time, and I got into doing a lot of construction, real estate, some other things. And I only bring that up because I think to be in business and to attract business, you have to meet a payroll. And I was able to do that, did that for a long period of time. Very happy in Kentucky. And this individual called me, and I'll get to the punchline and start describing a little bit more about who I am. But this fella called me to come to Michigan, and I said, absolutely not. But he said, just come up, it'd be a good experience. Unfortunately, I had to speak at his funeral yesterday, and maybe I shouldn't be bringing it up, but it's still fresh. This gentleman was born and was raised during the Depression. He happened to be of parents that were both deaf and mute. He actually lived in the back seat of an automobile during many of the years of the recession, of the Depression, excuse me. And Merlin, as I like to call him, everybody knew who Merlin was. Here was a guy who became a tool and die maker, never went on to college. And yesterday, at least most of 1,000 of his employees were there paying homage to this unbelievable individual who convinced me to move to Michigan and take on economic development. And Merlin was everything from having tool and die shops to being involved in making robotics and high-speed automated equipment, to actually being in the cold storage business, to actually having water businesses, you name it, Merlin did it. And he always gave back and always believed in community. And why am I saying this and sharing that with you? Well, I believe quite candidly that the entrepreneurial spirit, helping individuals connect to that opportunity, is the greatest, best single thing you can do from an economic development perspective. I'm a real big believer in entrepreneurialism. I'm a big believer in connecting the opportunities that come from entrepreneurialism. Yes, attracting new companies. Yes, trying to bring new companies in is an important element of economic development. But I think stimulating growth from within and stimulating growth that comes from someone who has the wherewithal to go out and take the chances and do the things they needed to create a business is most important. And ultimately, whether it's a new company, whether it's an entrepreneurial startup, or whether it's a manufacturing concern that we've had around for a long period of time, I do have a philosophy, and that is very simple. I know during the tornado, when I was at Whirlpool Corporation, we wrote a grant for the Kentucky Habitat for Humanity to develop the strategy to bring private and public and not-for-profits together to help redo housing and to use the tools available. And we felt that was the right use of some funds from Whirlpool Corporation. But I have a real fundamental belief that I'm trying to take to cabinet. And that is, we all should work together to create safe housing for all individuals in our great state. But if you give somebody a chance to be educated, to educate themselves, or to have a great stable job, that house that you've helped them live in becomes a home. And I'm a big believer that that stable job and turning that house into a home is how an individual can dream. They can think about their kids moving up and doing better. And by living in that home and dreaming and knowing they have stability with the job that comes with it, they actually begin to become engaged in the community. They care for their neighbors. And ultimately, living on that street and caring for your neighbors is what really truly becomes a bit of a community. And you multiply that over one street over, every street times many over, you get cities and you get townships and you get villages and you get counties. And that's really what success at economic development should be all about. And that's creating neighborhoods and creating jobs and creating people that can look at their home and look at their families and be engaged in the community. And ultimately that creates a better quality of life for all of us. And it's the tools we do to go about making those things happen that for me are the fundamental importance of doing economic development. Now, I was doing economic development in Michigan. I did that for about 10 years. I did it in an area that on one side of the river was a community called Benton Harbor. And it used to be the powerhouse from an economic perspective in that region, actually almost in the entire state for almost a century. And it fell on hard times. And Benton Harbor was a community that was 97% or is 97% African-American, 57% living below the poverty line, and multiple empty buildings. And just across the river, and literally that river is no larger than this room, was St. Joseph, which is 92% white, highly affluent, very well educated. And if you can imagine the challenges and the struggles of two communities so polar opposite, so close to each other, in a county that had 17 school systems, 30-something cities, municipalities, and villages for 153,000 people. That's the area that I did economic development. And I wouldn't have changed one word for it, one day of it, because I also realized it's not just about creating homes. It's about bringing people together and people from different walks of life, because in the end, communities don't grow, don't survive if there's division. And communities can only work when you have people that care for one another. And that's in effect what I learned doing economic development there in Benton Harbor, St. Joseph. And I didn't do things the traditional way. We did all kinds of crazy things. We did build-to-suits. We did renovations of old buildings. I worked here just recently in doing a working housing project with 82 units that we're doing for Whirlpool Corporation. We did a lot of small business startups, a lot of high-tech startups. And ultimately, a fellow called and said, I'm going to become the new chairman of Whirlpool. And he said, would you come to work for me? And I said, well, Jeff, everybody knows you're going to be the new chairman. I'd be glad to. So I spent the last 18 years working for Whirlpool Corporation, reported to the chairman. I was a member of the executive leadership team, and we did projects all over the world. Whirlpool is one of the largest major home appliance companies in the world. Haier would be seen as being larger because they make little small products that we don't make. But in the end, Whirlpool is still publicly traded. We had 9 U.S. factories, and 82% of the products that we make in this country of the products we make, 82% of what is sold in this country are made in this country. And so I've got a lot of experience in manufacturing. I've got some experience in doing economic development projects all over the world, Europe, Asia. Why do I say all that? Because I want to come back to why upon retirement, when you get to be 64 years old, you kind of look around and say, what do you want to do with your life? And your wife reminds you that for the last 28 years that you've been living in Michigan, or 27 years and 364 days, I've promised her we would move back to Kentucky, especially when our son moved to Kentucky. And all of our nephews over in Union County are having babies. And she's saying, we're moving back to Kentucky. So finally, I got the hint, and she says, don't even come home. We'll start moving up the moving halls and we'll start moving back. So that's when I decided we're moving to Kentucky. And thankfully, an opportunity came up to become the Secretary of the Cabinet for Economic Development, where I worked about 30 years ago. All that to come back to just simply summing it up. My vision is really very simple. We have to collaborate. We have to create those homes. And the tools that we have to exhibit are truly understanding what it takes to announce a project, what it takes to create a chance where people have that opportunity, and give companies a real understanding of what the workforce really is in the community, so they can then count on the opportunities they're going to have when they invest in their business, whether they're already here or not. Workforce is the number one concern of any company, and even at Whirlpool. Today, I think we still have about 1,200 openings in all of our 9 factories that we would fill in a heartbeat if we could find those folks. It's a problem all over the U.S. And so I look at things in a very unique way. I believe of the values that I've put in place at the Cabinet for Economic Development: integrity, earning trust of our local colleagues, and being a colleague. I mean, truly being a colleague with all of our folks in the communities, because if you're not a super collaborator, you won't do economic development. And so we have to set that standard. But I will also tell you the one key value that I have tried to impose, and I'm using that word intentionally with my team, is called a spirit of winning. I don't believe in losing. I believe very strongly that whether it's a small company that's trying to find help, whether it's an existing company that's trying to find a workforce, or it's a company that was looking at Hopkinsville not that long ago, you need to have that spirit of winning with integrity, that you're not going to take no for an answer. You're going to be a super collaborator. You're going to be a super innovator. You're going to be a problem solver, and you're going to reach out and collaborate with whomever it is that can bring value to the table to solve that issue, to get that company or to get that opportunity where it needs to be. And I say all that because I've been in the game of economic development long enough to know that sometimes if you stay in your office, you're not a collaborator. If you stay in your office and don't get to understand what's going on out there in the territory you're servicing, you don't know what you need to do to solve the problems. And if at the end you don't have a real attitude that you're going to win, and that winning is a good thing, and that you're going to go find whatever it takes to make that win achievable and possible, then you're not doing what you need to do in the world of economic development. And I believe that's really one of the fundamental things that I can bring to the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development, is that spirit of winning and that determination to get the job done. And I will go back to what I said. I was in the real estate business, 750,000 square feet. I think I was 31 years old at the time. We were $10 million in debt, had $1 million line of credit that got called. I learned a lot about business and what it takes to be gritty enough to get up and look in the mirror and say, we just had a baby, Judy, but maybe we're not getting the milk this week because I got to do what I got to do to take care of making sure payroll gets met. I bring that up because I really do believe that's ultimately what business is all about, whether it's a small business, whether it's a large business, and even at Whirlpool Corporation. And I'm saying this so that I can be clear about the challenges that all businesses have. I remember sitting around the conference table in 2007. We knew the Great Recession, the greatest since the Big Depression, was coming. And even as a large publicly traded corporation, you took a deep gulp and you realize cash is king. You still got to meet your obligations. You still got to have the debt covenants that your underwriters are looking for. And fundamentally, at the end of the day, you got to run your business in the right way, because only running a business the right way is how you create opportunity. And again, I believe that's one of the things that we need to do at the Cabinet for Economic Development, is if no other reason to be there and support our businesses. They have to run their business the right way, but if we can help them and we can create the environment, let's do it and make that happen. That's my vision. Now, I'll tell you, to get there is really quite simple, and I'm going to give the governor tons of credit. You can't sit back and just hope that things that are changing are going to come your way. One of the areas that I knew at Whirlpool that was happening was about 2 years ago in Blackstone, which is really one of the most significantly well-known investment houses out there, wrote a letter talking about ESG and the importance of ESG for investing in publicly traded companies, the environment, social, and governance. And I believe that's what catapulted this movement around electronic vehicles, and Bill Ford making the kind of commitment that was made. Is suddenly the investment community, which they've been pretty silent on recycling and the circular economy and things of that nature, suddenly started writing about the importance of that in terms of investment decisions being made. And I'm very proud of the fact that I think our state is on the cutting edge of where the automotive industry is heading. I'm still always going to have my car that fires up and has those electronic combustions in it. We may also have an electronic vehicle. So I think there's going to be duality in terms of where we go, at least in the near term. But the long term is this circular economy is real. And getting the Ford facility to come in allows us to be on the cutting edge of what's happening in an industry in which our state relies very, very heavily upon for all the jobs. I think 1 out of every 5 jobs in our state is dependent upon the automotive sector. So now we have an industry leader on the cutting edge of the new technologies for the electronic vehicle. And we still have Toyota, Corvette, all these great manufacturers and all these great suppliers still fulfilling the needs from a combustible perspective. And so we have a future, we have a vision, and we still have a great core that we can continue to take care of in our state. But the benefits are, now that we're on the cutting edge of where industry is going, I see other great opportunities coming in for our companies. Robotics are real. At Whirlpool, we're putting in robotics. And our people will tell you, they realize why robotics are critically important. It's not replacing jobs. It's changing the jobs and creating jobs that are much more empowering, much more part of the process, and much more problem solving. And so robotics are taking out some of the areas that people really don't want to do. And as we see the workforce challenges out there, how do we attract companies that are embracing robotics so that all of our manufacturers can learn from it, realize the benefits that can come from it? And I believe truly that's what's happening. How do we bring in those suppliers now to the electronic vehicle, which I think is what you did there recently in Hopkinsville, excuse me. That's the kind of movement that ultimately creates opportunities for all of our existing companies, because they're not going to be left behind. When you start creating a workforce that understands what's happening in the electronic vehicle side of things, or you create a workforce that is in Hopkinsville working on making batteries out of recycled batteries and using technologies the National Science Foundation helped create, you're creating knowledge base that even existing companies, large and small, will be able to draw upon in terms of where we're heading into the future. Secondly, I can tell you this, at Whirlpool, same thing for Haier, GE, you name it. They're appliance companies. There's all kinds of companies that over the last 2 years, we've all had the supply chain issues where we wished we could have shipped anything that was out there, but we couldn't get it made because we couldn't get it shipped. Yeah, a refrigerator may have 172 parts. If you only got 171, you're really out of luck. The world will change and there will be a supply chain rationalization. And also I'll go back to the kinds of companies that are being announced here in the state of Kentucky are on the cutting edge of redefining what that supply chain looks like. And that also means what's happening with that supply chain, which affects our existing companies that are supporting those big companies. And we as a cabinet, we as a state need to be out there helping all of our companies both understand it, or where possible, attracting new companies in, they're going to be part of that new supply chain, or where possible, attracting those companies that are really changing the very fabric by which manufacturing and productions are taking place. That's what we try to do at the Cabinet for Economic Development, but we have to go back to, we collaborate. And that's why I appreciate the invitation to be here. I made a commitment to try and be out in all parts of the state at least 1 or 2 days a week, so that I can still be in the office 3 days a week to do the job, but try to be out in the state 1 or 2 days a week. And so far, I've been on the job 7 weeks, and my second visit to this part of Hopkinsville, this part of the state. Because if you don't know you, how can I collaborate with you? If I don't know what issues you have, how can I work with you? If I don't know what the challenges are, or if I don't even know what the landscape looks like, and by the way, I've been to every county at least 3 times in my previous life, at least 3 times, maybe more, but it's been a while. And I love what I'm seeing. And I'm rambling a little bit, so I'll close it out. I am so honored and privileged to be part of the Cabinet. It's a job that I've wanted for a long, long time. I have a real commitment to getting the job done the right way. And I also have a real commitment that for all of you and with all of you, I want to work with you. I want to come at this with one mission in mind. How do we help take individuals that are our neighbors and make sure they have that home in which they can live and they can dream, and they can make sure their children can dream, and that we create neighbors where everybody supports one another, and we create communities that are full of neighbors. And ultimately, we have to do that. And the only way to do that is to create communities and neighborhoods where every one of those houses are filled with someone who has a stable job that allows them to dream and think about what their future can be. And at the very core, that's what we all have to do together. And that's really what I'm committed to doing here as the Cabinet for Economic Development. And I also want to tell you that Ascend Elements, and I think Carter will talk about that, but it's a great company. And if you don't know, it's actually, in some respects, an advanced startup. It started in 2015. They had an idea about how to go about being on the cutting edge of a major disruption, major change happening in the automotive industry. And they did a really good job putting together the right people, the right processes, and also the right ideas that allowed them to get National Science Fund foundations to validate that and to then put into demonstration what that project was, and then to go out and raise the capital necessary to be the industry leader from day one in a significantly changing but critically important industry. And that's exactly what Ascend Elements is doing. And that's why I think it's 250 jobs. I believe it's a $300 million investment. I think it's $34, $35 of pay plus benefits. But they actually talked about the potential to make it $1 billion investment, the potential to grow because of how quickly and how significantly this industry is changing, and how they've already assembled the right people that are already viewed to be industry leaders in the recycling of batteries necessary to then remake batteries in this critical circular economy that's out there today. So I have rambled a lot. You feed me a hot dog, I'll go all day.
We've got plenty more back there.
But let me just close by telling you one of the reasons why I wanted to be here, and I think Carter knows it. I was able to come out and meet with and Judge Tribble and the mayor. I was able to be part of a super collaboration 24-hour window where Ascend was here. They hadn't made their decision. Great evening of fellowship, talking about all the right things. The state, the local community, the region made commitments to this company while they were here in town. And we talked about the importance of a commitment. And we said that when we say things in Kentucky, we're going to get them done. And the next day, I was able to see firsthand a true collaboration amongst the college, amongst the community, amongst the regional workforce, amongst the military. And you actually came in with a presentation, not wringing our hands about the problems of finding workers, but of everybody in the room looking at each other and saying, we're committed to working together to find you the talent you need to be successful. And anything that you need, we will commit together to find those problems, to find them and find the solutions. We won't have all the answers, but you now have a room full of people who've looked each other in the eye and looked the company in the eye and said, we are here for you to find the talent you need to make it again, your company be successful. And I'm going to quote the fellow from Worthington Steel when I was working with him on a project. He said, Jeff, I don't want to come to a community or to a state that's perfect, because there is no perfect utopia in any kind of way of life. I also am not going to go to a community that doesn't acknowledge that they don't have all the answers. But you show me a community, you show me a region that has a strategy, you show me a community, you show me a region that has a vision for itself. You show me a community and you show me a region that is honest about the challenges and where they are on that journey. Then I, as a company, want to be on that journey with them, because businesses do believe in giving back and businesses do believe in being a part of successful change and creating opportunities for all individuals, not just a few. And I will tell you that this region, Hopkinsville, and this state presented to Ascend that could have gone anywhere with what they had done. And they realized this is an area that has a vision. This is an area that understands we have some areas that we do have to work on, but we're in it together, and we're going to be on this ride with you, Ascend Elements, because we share in those opportunities. And I will tell you again, and as I close out, what I've told my entire team. If you work for me, if you're going to work in economic development, just remember this. We share in the responsibilities if we're going to create those shared opportunities. And Ascend Elements announcement is a shared opportunity for the entire region. It's a shared opportunity for those that will be working there. It's a shared opportunity for those who will be supplying them, but it's a shared opportunity for our entire state. But it only came about because this region, this community, and everyone involved made it very clear right up front. We share in the responsibilities of helping to create shared successes. That's the successful elements of economic development. It's not an incentive tool. It's not just going out and throwing out money. It's about showing that commitment to work together. And hopefully I'll have a chance with the economic variables after this to talk about how we're going to fine tune our product and our product mix, because there's $100 million opportunity out there for communities to partner together, or for those to come in an innovative way to find ways of presenting new sites and new products for other companies. But I'll close by telling you this: don't make it just a bunch of dirt. Having been a farm boy, I can say that. Dirt does not raise great products. Pure dirt does not create the kind of opportunities for the future. Find the piece of dirt of ground that has your workforce. Find the dirt that has the technology elements, all those things that go with it, that makes it a real product that you can offer to others. And that's what that $100 million opportunity is about. That's what the Ascend opportunity is an outgrowth from. And that's where I think the opportunities that we have in front of us as a state and as a region, if we share in the responsibilities together, that we can achieve. And I'll just simply say this: business ain't easy. Business has to make tough decisions. Business people have lots of stakeholders they have to fulfill, and making a site decision, keeping a facility open, or starting a new operation takes working with a community they can believe in. And I think you all have it many, many times over. And thank you all for letting me be here today.
Mr. Secretary, thank you very much. Jason told me it would be educational in economic development, but he didn't tell me he was a motivational speaker as well. But you could do either one, I guarantee you. Thank you very much for being here. We'll turn it over to Director Jason Benson.
That's what I was going to say, Mr. Chairman, is that I figured out that you don't want to follow the secretary when speaking, but thank you for being here today and sharing your thoughts. But I know it's already been mentioned, and we're going to mention it again because I do think it is one of those projects that is going to impact our entire region. And I just want to say congratulations, Carter, to you and your team for putting together the project for Ascend. I know I see firsthand the work that you all put into these projects. So I'd invite you up to the microphone just to give an update on the project.
Thank you, Jason, and Mr. Secretary, for those, Jeff, for those very kind words. I know you keep saying, call him Jeff. I have a hard time calling the cabinet secretary by his first name, but Jeff, thank you for those very kind words. I will acknowledge as well, you mentioned the team. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Tony Prim and Sharon Butts over here on my left, sitting by Ms. Sheila Clark, and absolutely give them a big round of applause if you would. Oftentimes, the person in front of the microphone either assumes the credit or the blame, whichever it is that they need to assume in that particular moment. And as all of you know, when you have a great announcement like the one that was announced last Monday here in Hopkinsville and Christian County and the Pennyrile region, that's a team effort. And so it's a we thing, not a me thing. And I'll tell you that Sharon is the associate director that writes the RFIs, request for information, gets us ready for a site visit. So some of the great things said about that visit, it's Sharon that really is the person behind the scenes making that happen. And if you didn't know, she's also one of the most top 50 most notable women in government and politics in Kentucky from this past year is Sharon Butts. Give that a round of applause. That's pretty neat. Now, not to be outdone, Tony Prim is the person who works with our existing industries because, as Jeff was suggesting, it's not just good enough to get an announcement. There's a commitment that you're making for post-announcement that you're supporting a company, a business, and industry from the day they break ground for every anniversary that's to come after. And Tony Prim is our associate director that works with our existing industries and just got announced today. He's one of the top 10 most notable bourbon drinkers. No, that's just a joke there. That's just a joke. But great to have them on the team with us, and certainly we're very proud to be standing before you. As it's already been acknowledged, it takes a lot of collaboration and partnership, and this process to work with Ascend Elements actually started in October of 2021. So about a year process, and we're not ready to celebrate quite yet. I'm of the mindset that until you've found the end zone or finished past the finish line, don't celebrate yet. So there's still some things we're working with the company. They'll break ground, and once they're constructing, I'll be ready to celebrate a little bit more. But it started October of 2021 with a phone call. From the company directly to us. It was actually a direct lead initially, interested in our spec building in Hopkinsville Commerce Park. When they came here and visited initially, they made it known that actually they needed a rail site and that they needed a site bigger than what the spec building was on. So that began to take a much different path as a result of that. So after 10 months worth of working with them, and three things that really stood out to make this project happen were the partnerships, the leadership, and ultimately understanding the opportunity. So very quickly, I want to just say this about partnerships. In the role that we have as economic development professionals, it's critical that you have strong partners at the Cabinet for Economic Development, at organizations like TVA, and many other levels at the state level to have those partners. But we're very fortunate in Kentucky to have a Cabinet for Economic Development that is forward-thinking, that works with each of its communities, and that really sees us as their colleagues and their peers in this process and treats us in a way that embraces our ideas and input throughout this process. So we had great partnerships with the Cabinet and TVA from the very beginning with Ascend Elements, but also acknowledge that it takes partnerships at the local and regional level, like the ones that are represented here. And so this announcement, this industry doesn't choose the Pennyrile region. It doesn't choose Christian County and Hopkinsville if we don't have partnerships in place to help make sure that we can deliver on those expectations. Folks like Judge Executive Tribble, Mayor Lynch, key partners in the city and the county, our Pennyrile Area Development District with Jason and Amy and others that help us along the way, the West Kentucky Workforce Investment Board, the Fort Campbell Transition Assistance Program, Hopkinsville Community College, the K through 12 systems of public education, countless community partners come together to make a project happen. So when we celebrate collectively in this type of an environment. And I mean that from the very bottom of my heart. We know that we can't deliver a project. We can deliver projects as a region, as a county, as a community. And the second thing that comes to mind is leadership. That at the end of the day, you create the partnerships to create the environment that hopefully allows you to recruit in a company like Ascend or Pratt Paper just north of us, or whatever it may be as the next big announcement, hopefully here in Western Kentucky, but if anywhere, at least in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. That it takes leadership to deliver when it matters most. And I can tell you that with this particular project, 10 months worth of activity, it's the last 45 days that this project really went on superdrive, hyperdrive, if you will. Secretary Noel had a chance to meet the company. The governor got more engaged and involved as the process went on. And before we know it, the state and its leadership and the company and its leadership were engaged in an active conversation to move this project along quicker than we were anticipating at that point in time. And thankfully so. For those that don't know, I'm a volunteer track coach and I love to coach sprints. So I'm all about fast for short distances. So it's good to move fast as far as I'm concerned. But Secretary Noel and Governor Beshear and others in the cabinet, Corky Peak and others, took a very active role in this conversation with this company to really move this project forward over the past 45 days. Secretary Gray and the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet intimately involved in leadership. And I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our local elected officials, our state delegation, Representative Thomas, Representative Petrie, Representative Dawson, Senator Westerfield, and many more from the broader region that are engaged in helping to promote an environment that's conducive to economic development, passing policies and tax reform that make us all more attractive for these types of projects currently and in the future. So it takes all of these partnerships and leadership to come together at the right time to offer the opportunity. This opportunity is 250 jobs at an average wage of $58,000 a year, a capital investment of approximately $310 million in what's being called Apex 1. The company has plans for Apex 3, which would just about double the number of jobs and would triple the capital investment over the course of time to being $1 billion capital investment in Hopkinsville's Commerce Park 2, which is currently planted in corn. This project will be the very first project to open up Commerce Park to 1,000+ acre rail served, what we like to refer to as mega site. That once it starts developing, we're quite confident in the ability to bring even more opportunities for Hopkinsville and Christian County, but also for the broader Southwestern Kentucky region and all of Western Kentucky for that matter. And I want to peel back the layer on what the opportunity can look like. 250 jobs initially. By our numbers, about 65% of our workforce will come from Christian County, Hopkinsville and Christian County. The other 1/3 coming from some other county, many of them represented right here in the Pennyrile Area Development District map that you see on the wall. So even though we're celebrating it in Hopkinsville and Christian County, the truth of the matter is of those 250 jobs, about 100 will come from a neighboring county. And we'd love to have all of them be Hopkinsville and Christian Countyans, but that's just not the way the workforce works. If Ray has an announcement in Hopkins County, there are going to be people from Christian County that are going to go that way and have a job in Hopkins County. So we celebrate the opportunity very much through the regional perspective. Obviously, $310 million investment, there's going to be contracting and subcontracting opportunities that will have a ripple effect, and there'll be businesses from all over the PAD region able to take advantage of that ripple effect of construction activity. And then this company is going to have ongoing servicing needs and opportunities for different types of contractors that, again, companies from all over the Pennyrile Area Development District will have a chance to take advantage of. But what we hope, and I'm looking at Amanda Davenport, I'm part of a regional group to help market all of Western Kentucky, most focused on certain participating areas through some funding, but all of Western Kentucky to the broader EV world to make sure that they realize that this announcement of Ascend Elements is just the beginning. That Western Kentucky, and I believe of course Southwestern Kentucky, is uniquely positioned to take advantage of the proximity to these large EV announcements that we've seen over the past 12 months. If you look at that map and you visualize Elizabethtown or Stanton, Tennessee, or Bowling Green, we're within 3 hours of 3 of the largest EV-related announcements in North America. We are positioned perfectly to seize this opportunity, and Ascend Elements for our community is simply the first of what we hope are many, many more to come for Southwestern Kentucky and the broader PAD region and all of Western Kentucky. So just know that the Kentucky cornerstone counties, as we're starting to refer to ourselves, see, Amanda, I told you I was going to mention that. The Western Kentucky counties, we call cornerstone to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, foundational to its success, that these counties are partnering together, not only to target EV in the short term, but perhaps long term to target other sectors that make perfect sense. And to suggest that if you're going to invest in Kentucky or this region, invest in Western Kentucky, selfishly Southwestern Kentucky, perhaps the Lake Barkley Partnership or wherever it may be in Western Kentucky. And then we'll make sure that we support you every day along the journey of your business success. And we're confident that you'll be successful when you do. So as we like to say in our staff team, we're charged and ready for electric vehicles. And then I'll conclude with simply this thought. We're talking electric vehicles and we're thinking automotive, and we should, rightly so. It's right here in the forefront. But when you think about the emergence of EV, don't just be thinking automotive EV, pontoon boats and aerial vehicles and all types of devices and transportation mobilities that will be requiring electric vehicle support. It's not just about the batteries, which is what Ascend Elements will be doing, reprocessing chemicals from used batteries to be remanufactured for future batteries, but it's also about charging stations and the components that go into charging stations and a number of other opportunities that come within this sector. So with that in mind, Jason, thank you for the opportunity to come this afternoon and share with you very briefly. If you have any questions about Ascend Elements and this unique opportunity, we'll be happy to answer them as best we can. But more than anything else, we just wanted to share and then wish each of you the best of luck in your counties and in your particular part of the region as we try to take advantage of this opportunity and future opportunities that I know the state and others are working very hard to make happen. Thank you.
I'm going to transition just a bit, and I know that everyone here in this room, and it's already been mentioned, has been following what's going on in East Kentucky. And as we know firsthand what it means to have a disaster like that strike your region. I know so many folks have been traveling out east to provide assistance, but I know that Judge Whitfield spent some time over there, who has definitely firsthand experience with dealing with these types of disasters. So I know you spent some time in East Kentucky last week. Would you mind just to give a little update on what you saw and maybe what we could do as a region to assist?
Yeah, it's eerily familiar. Completely different disasters, but as you drive down the streets where we had a half-mile wide path, completely destroyed homes and lives. And not where I was, very similar situation. Poverty area, the creeks that overflowed, took houses and trailers, just destroyed them or floated them down the river. Saw a school bus, the old tractor, a pristine, what was a pristine Corvette in a creek. 17 lives lost in Cotton County alone. That was the most very poverty area. They saw as destruction of homes, businesses. Turn around here, most of the housing areas, a lot of them are across the creek. Breathitt County, they've got about 90 bridges beyond. So, transportation department's going to get pretty well involved, I think. Just the infrastructure damage, homes, poverty, it's heart-wrenching, just like it was here. Supplies out there early on. Have very unorganized. One reason I wanted to go was having dealt with it. Unfortunately, I had some experience on the mistakes that we made. We not only deal with destruction of so much of this county, but our own house as well. It's very easy to get out to test these water. Hard to get organized. Full help, I could say give it a couple weeks. But we know when we're here, we were inundated with people, materials. Right, the first couple of weeks, just push spreading that help out over the next several weeks. But people have just hope that they have to. Here, we still have volunteers. Our options, just like you saw here. Did not have insurance. Flood insurance, out there, he said, flood insurance would be $15,000 a year. Wow. Most people, my trailer, can't pay $1,000 a year. So again, it's a very similar situation. They don't know. Let's not get all the support from the federal government. They need support from the federal. Yeah. Good chance. What's going on with the line, see if they take some of the advice, get single contact. And see what the needs are in the next several weeks. Not, somebody calls you, hey, I got a truckload of clothes that gathered dry sales, gonna take it back. They've got gyms full. Now water. They needed water initially, but their water tank full.
that's one of the things we didn't have impacted here was our, the infrastructure pieces, the water, the sewer, the bridges. So I know that's going to be a major impact for them. Well, thank you, Judge, for your leadership on that. And thank you for going over there and sharing about that today. One of the other stories that we've all been following and assisting with is the situation in Marion with Lake George and their water source. And fortunately, Judge, we've started seeing some rain, thankfully. And I know that you all have been working diligently to making some repairs to the system and strides in interconnections with other neighboring systems. But if you don't mind, Judge, just to give us sort of an update on where that situation stands.
Thank you, Jason. And I want to thank everyone in this room for your part, what you've done to help the city of Marion over the last several months. A lot of you have donated water. A lot of you have donated time and resources to come up and help hand out that water and various other things that were needed. But as Jason said, things are definitely getting better. Somebody asked me one time in the grocery store, said, well, how's the water situation today? And I had just left a meeting and I said, I can honestly say today is better than yesterday. And if I can say that again tomorrow, we've had 2 good days. And that's kind of the way we've taken this, because it has been day to day. And, it's taken a lot of partnership, Division of Water, obviously the National Guard, Kentucky Emergency Management. The governor has been up a couple times and provided great relief, and all his team has truly been fantastic. At the most recent information that I have, the city has gone through a few weeks of repairing leaks to their system. Those leaks equated to a little over 200,000 gallons of water a day, which was taking a huge impact on availability as well. So by repairing those leaks, we've taken huge strides in being able to meet the daily needs for Marion water system. Judge Gruber here obviously is a partner in the Crittenden and Livingston Water District with myself, and Crittenden and Livingston has been able to start to support Marion with about 144,000 gallons of water a day. And over not this past weekend, but weekend before, Crittenden and Livingston actually had a leak in their system, so they had to cut back on the amount of water they were giving Marion. Well, that turned out really to be a blessing, because had they continued to support Marion with the amount of water they had been giving them, Marion's clear wells would have actually ran over. So it's much better than what it's been. It's getting better. The interconnection with Sturgis is getting ready to, I think, take place. Doug, Transportation's been heavily involved in that. So it's much better, and will continue to get better. And now it's time to start transitioning to the long-term resolution, because our short-term position is so much better than what it has been. And I know I keep saying better, and I hate saying that, but from where we came from, it's great to be able to say that, because it certainly didn't look that way for a long time. So, Jason, thank you.
Thank you, Judge. As you can tell, Mr. Secretary, we like to help folks help each other out in this region. And that's a great thing about the Pennyrile region. We are happy to announce that we're bringing back Pride of the Pennyrile this year. That will take place on September the 22nd down at Lake Barkley State Park. You'll find a flyer about that in your board packet. For those of you that don't know, this is our region's opportunity to show appreciation to our business and industry across our entire region. And I want to thank our economic development folks for assisting with the planning of this event. And also, we would love to have our board members there for the day. So if your schedule allows, please join us. If you have any questions or would like to attend, contact Melissa or myself, and we'll be happy to get you on the list. Finally, Mr. Chairman, I would like to introduce a new employee to you all today, Miss Jessica Meredith. Jessica, stand up. Jessica is joining our team today and will be a community and economic development specialist in our Community and Economic Development Department. She has significant experience with grant writing and project administration. So we are very excited to have her. So please welcome Jessica. Mayor Cotton, I know you have a special guest with you today. Would you like to introduce?
Jackson with me, he is 16 years old. His goal in life is to get in the political state. Looking at all different aspects. Spent 3 days with me as the mayor, so we're sorry.
Yeah, we're happy for you to join us today. Thank you for being with us. Lots of great information in your packet and in your newsletter. Hopefully you'll have an opportunity to take a look at that. And we are just honored to be a part of so much momentum here in our region. So thank you all for the leadership that you all provide on a daily basis. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have unless there are any questions or any other business. Thank you all for being here.
Any other business? Carter, I want to tell you one thing. Judge White come about that far out of his chair when you said something about electric pontoon boat. His office has been on a pontoon boat for the last 2 years, I think. Well, there we go. Motion to adjourn. We stand adjourned. Thank you.